Hello and welcome to this First Look Exploring session, a continuing First Look Exploring session looking at the Proverbs of John Heywood. I'm not really sure what the precise title I should give for this play is, because it's not a play. It's a book. It's a book. It's a long narrative poem written by John Heywood. Has sort of various names because it goes under various different editions over time, and there are lots of follow-ups to this. But we're looking at the initial impulse of this incredibly popular book. This is the thing. This was one of the most successful books in its period of the late 1540s when it first appears, 1546. It is basically what John Heywood was known for after his death, and remained and was expanded upon in various different forms. It is not necessarily, though it looks on paper like it might be performative, it's not quite running that way so far, and it has been quite a long time since we last looked at it. We did the first 10 chapters, and in fact we said we were going to do something this session. We said we were going to rework it slightly and see if the dialogue flowed better if we broke it up into parts. We have not done that because I forgot. And so we are just going to keep reading and see where we get. So reading today, we have Eric, we have Tom, we have Valentina, and myself, Robert. And we are going to read chunkettes and chapters and see what we get out of it. But as we have just left a narrative being told by... There are two characters. One of them is telling the other a story which is mostly about... attending a dinner with various women, and it got quite complicated, and we were a bit confused, and so we're joining at about that point. So at chapter 11. So if you're confused, don't worry, you are in good company. So without further ado, I will ask Eric to start us off on chapter 11, and when you hear the bell ping, we'll head over to Tom, then Valentina, then myself, each in turn.
He that came to me the next day before noon. What tidings now, quoth I? How have ye done? Upon our departing, quoth he, yesterday toward mine uncle's, somewhat more than midway, I overtook a man, a servant of his, and a friend of mine, who guessed straight with this what mine errand was, offering in the same to do his best for me, and so in God's name thither we went. Nobody being within but mine uncle, mine aunt, and one of our kin. A mad knave, as it were, a railing jester, not a more gaggling gander, hence the Chester. At sight of me, he asked, Who have we there? I have seen this gentleman, if I wist where, how be it, lo, seldom seen, soon forgotten. He was, as he will be, somewhat cupshotten. 6 days in the week, beside the market day, malt is above wheat with him, marketmen say. But for as much as I saw the same taunt, contented well mine uncle and mine aunt, and that I came to fall in and not fall out, I forbear, or else his drunken red snout I would have made as oft to change from hue to hue as doth cocks of Ind. For this is true, it is a small hop on my thumb, and Christ what, it is wood at a word. Little pot soon hot, now merry as a cricket, and by angry as a wasp. Though in both, of course, why? But he was at home there, he might speak his will. Every cock is proud on his own dunghill. I shall be even with him herein when I can. But he having done, thus mine uncle began. Ye merchant, what attempteth you to attempt us? To come on us before the messenger thus? Roaming in and out, I hear tell ye how ye toss. But son, the rolling stone never gathereth moss. Like a pig-pursed pilgrim you pry and you prowl at rovers to rob Peter and pay Paul. It was, I know ere any more be told, that draught is your errand, but drink ye wold. Uncle, quoth I, of the cause for which I come, I pray you patiently hear the whole sum. In faith, quoth he, without any more summing, I know to beg of me is thy coming. Forsooth, quoth his man, it is so indeed, and I dare boldly boast, if ye knew his need, ye would of pity set him in some stay. Son, better be envied than pitied, folks say, and for his cause of pity, had he had grace, he might this day have been clear out of the case, but now he hath well fished and caught a frog. Where naught is to wed with, wise men flee the clog. Where I, quoth I, did not as ye willed or bad, that I repent I oft, and as oft wish I had. Son, quoth he, as I have heard of mine elders, well fished and caught a frog, so again writes Latimer in his remains. Well have I fished and caught a frog, brought little to pass with much ado.
And we'll pass over to Tom.
Wishes and wonders be no good to householders. This proverb for a lesson, with such other not like, as who saith, the son of my brother. But like mine own son, I oft before told thee to cast her quite off. But it would not hold thee when I will thee any other were to go. Tush! There was no maids but Malkin, though ye have been lost to lack or your lust when ye list, by 2 miles trudging twice a week to be kissed. I would ye have kissed, well, I will no more stare. It is good to have a hatch before the door, but who will in time present pleasures refrain, shall in time to come and more pleasures obtain. Follow pleasure, and then will pleasure flee. Flee pleasure, and pleasure will follow thee. And how is it my saying come to pass now? How oft did I prophesy this between you and your gentle guinea fine nomenclature?
Yes, I'll step in there. Nice bicytor. It's a strange word that Heywood uses elsewhere.
Thank you. Nice bicyture. When sweet sugar should turn to sour saltpeter, whereby ye should, in seeing that we never saw, think that you never thought yourself adore, but that time ye thought me adore, so I did no good in all my words then, save only approve this proverb plain and true matter. A man may well bring a horse to water, but he cannot make him drink without he will. Colts, quoth this man, may prove well with his thatchers ill, for a ragged clot where there cometh a good horse. If he be good now, of his ill past no force.
And we'll pass over to Valentina.
Well, he hath hangeth himself on a Sunday, said he, shall hang still uncut down on Monday for me. I have hanged up my hatchet. God speed him well. A wonder thing that what things these old things tell. Cat after kind, good mouse hunt, and also, men say, kind will creep where it may not go. Commonly all things showeth from whence it came. The litter is like to the sire and the dumb. He that for commonwealth busily studieth and laboureth and liveth by God's law, except he wax rich, men count him but a daw. How can the fool amble if the horse and mare trot? These sentences are assigned unto thy lot by conditions of thy father and mother, my sister-in-law, and mine own said brother. Thou followest their steps as right as a line, for when provender pricked them a little time, they did as thy wife and thou did. Both dote each another, and being not worth a groat, then went witless to wedding, whereby at last they both went a-begging. And even the like cast as thou wilt beg or steal ere thou die. Take heed, friend. I have seen as far come as nigh. If you seek to find things ere they be lost, you shall find one day ye come to your cost. These do I but repeat, for these I told thee, and more I say, but I could not then hold thee. nor will not hold thee now, nor such folly feel, to set at my heart that thou settest at thy heel, and as of my good ere I one groat give, I will see how my wife and myself may live. Thou goest a gleaning ere the cart have carried, but ere thou glean out. But ere thou glean aught, since thou well'st be merry, shall I make thee laugh now, and myself weep then? Nay, good child, better children weep than old men. Men should not please much to spend much upon fools. Fish is cast away that is cast in dry pools. To flee charge and find ease, ye would now, ere host, it is easy to cry a bull at the other man's cost. But a bull long bent at length must wear weak. Long bent I toward you, but that bent I will break. Farewell and feed full, that love ye well to do, but you lust not to do that longeth thereto. The cat would eat fish and will not wet her feet. They must hunger in frost, they will not work in heat. And he that will thrive must ask leave of his wife. But your wife will give none. By your and her life it is hard to wive and thrive both in a year. Thus by thy wiving thy thriving doth appear, that thou art past thrift before thrift begin. But lo, will have will, though will woe win. Will is a good son, and Will is a shrewd boy, and willful shrewd will hath wrought thee this joy.
A gentle white spur, and at need a sure spear, he standeth now as he had a flea in the ear. Howbeit, for any great courtesy he doth make, it seemeth the gentleman have eaten a steak. He beareth a dagger in his sleeve, trust me, to kill all that he meeteth prouder than he. He will perk, I hear say, he must have the bench. Jack would be a gentleman if he could speak French. He had a son or twain, he would advance, and said they should take pains until it fell. He that will thrive, quoth he, must tarry chance. He thinketh his feet be where his head shall never come. He would fain flee, but he wanteth feathers some. Sir, quoth this man, he will no fault defend, but hard is for any man all faults to mend. He is lifeless that is faultless, old folks though. He hath, quoth he, but one fault, he is naught. Well, quoth this man, the best cart may overthrow. Cart's well driven, quoth he, go long upright, but for my reward let him be no longer tarrier. I will send it him by John Long the carrier. Oh, help him, sir, said he, since ye easily may. Shameful craving, quoth he, must have shameful nay. You may, sir, quoth he, mend 3 nays with 1 yea. 2 false knaves need no broker, men say, said he. Some say also it is merry when knaves meet, but the mo knaves the worst company to greet. The one knave now croucheth, while the other craveth, but to shew what shall be his revealeth. Either after my death, if my will be kept, or during my life, had I this hall heaped with gold, he may his part on Good Friday eat, and fast never the worse for aught he shall geet. These former lessons conned, take forth this, son. Tell thy cards, and then tell me what thou hast won. Now here is the door, and there is the way. And so, quoth he, farewell, gentle Godfrey. Gonna pause there, because it's as good a place to pause as anywhere. Okay, that was harder to get into than I thought, because I thought we were going to have the problem for a different reason. I thought we were going to have a problem that we were midway through this thing with the neighbours and the women next door, and this sort of story that we were sort of into last time, and that we were going to sort of come jumping into it. No, we seem to be jumping into something totally different, and I genuinely have no idea who's actually supposed to be speaking. Is this just the 2 original speakers from the beginning, Eric, do you think? Just because they just seem to be riffing now. There doesn't seem to be any plot or content to any of this. It just feels like hey, should we just put aside the plot that we're the wafer thin plot that this story has given us, and shall we just riff? Shall we just riff? Because sometimes they're saying he said and quothy, and who are the he's? Who is any of the? Who are these people? I don't know what's going on. Eric, please.
Basically, if I remember correctly, it was the narrator kind of, and and the young man who was, had married for love or whatever, his neighbor basically, he'd sent the couple off to like beg money off their relatives separately. So the wife had gone to beg money off her aunt or aunt and family, and then the husband had gone to beg his part, and this is basically the husband's part, going. He comes back and says, basically, they didn't give me anything, but this is what happened.
Okay, that actually does make sense. Now you've said that, my hyperbole, I take it back. Just rolling the hyperbole back, just putting it back in its box. There it goes. Even so, it is still a lot of it's just riffing. But there's some good riffing in there. Robbing Peter to pay Paul. Some nice things in here. There was no more maids but Malkin. This is the thing, I look at different lines going, is that a proverb or is that just a weird line? And that's now where I'm going, this is interesting. Follow pleasure and then pleasure and then will pleasure flee pleasure, and pleasure will follow thee. God, that's a tongue twister and a half actually. But it's a nice line, I like it. Cat after kind, good mouse hunt. It's just interesting things. Fish is cast away that is cast in dry pools. It's like just going, oh, pick your favourite proverb. Will have will. Will have.
Yes.
Will
What?
have will. Will is a good boy and Will is a shrewd boy. Well, good son and good.
Yes.
It's these bits where every so often it just goes a bit Dr. Zeus on us. Which is not inherently bad. I mean, for actors, it's part of me thinking some of this is just good vocal warm-up, actually.
Great vocal warm-up.
As you're trying to figure out where to go. Because it does bounce really quite nicely. When I sort of stepped in, it was it had a sort of, it has a pep to it, but it is... I think the big problem we identified last time was that the problem is that it's too insistent a rhythm and you sort of get stuck in it and you can't get out of it, and it's how do you break it up so you don't get bored after a while, because you do a bit. But yeah, someone was somewhat cupshotted, so there was a nice bit on drunkenness. I did quite like all of that stuff. Eric, did you post one you quite liked? You put something in the chat about steaks. I wondered about that when we passed it.
I don't know if that doesn't really make sense as a proverb. It's like the gentleman has eaten his steak. I don't know if that's like maybe like he's eaten it and therefore he can't demand any more, or
it's eaten a steak. Yeah, because it's not like he's eaten his hat. Like it's sort of saying he's staked. Is it literally he's eaten a steak? It's Flea in the ear. That's a popular one today. Still about. This thing, just because some of these are the first time they've ever been actually, properly put into, written down. So they're useful to know where they come from. Useful to know. I mean, he didn't make them up. He just collated them. He might have made some of them up. I mean, who knows? What he was up to. Any other thoughts? I mean, it was fairly opaque what was going on there, and I think that's the problem with this text. It is just very opaque. Even now that Eric has explicated what's going on, I'm not sure how much it's going to help.
I just have a question. Are the proverbs in italics in the original text as well?
I can't remember whether they were. Whether Eric, you were being helpful and giving us italics when you identified proverbs, or whether that was in the original text that it was actually italicized.
I think it was originally italicized, if I remember correctly, and then some of them sounded like proverbs, but they were not italicized, and I'm like, I do not know.
Yeah, because it's the kind of thing they do is highlight when something is eminently quotable. That's also something you get later sort of neoclassical works, when you say, "Look, I've written a brilliant line here. Write it in your commonplace book and quote me in the future."
That's just because there's so many.
Yeah.
Well, that's, as you say, riffing. It's quite nice. I mean, on first read, it's difficult, but you can imagine once you get into it, everybody could be just sitting around going, oh, that was beautiful. Oh, look, he's done it again. And first read's difficult, but you could really roll with it. You can roll around.
I mean, it does have a sort of rap battle quality to it, doesn't it? You could, if you got two performers spitting this stuff out at each other, I mean, you couldn't sustain it for any length of time. I think that's the problem, is the duration of the text is so long. But maybe we could sort of excise bits and say, look, this is a thing, we're going to do a 5-minute thing. It's a warm-up game.
It's the thing you do in the interval.
Yes. Yeah. I like that. Because Heywood, that's very Heywood as well. Heywood's very into these sort of performative games that you can do. The Pardoner and the Friar is basically is the ultimate theatrical game of two people playing the rhythm and pace of each other's dialogue of each other. The dialogue itself is in itself almost irrelevant. It's the game between the performers that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shall we continue this chapter? I paused at what seemed like a reasonable pause point. Thus parted is, I think, where Eric will take us up from, please. Farewell, gentle Geoffrey.
Thus parted I from him, being much dismayed, which his man saw, and to comfort me said, What, man, pluck up your heart, be of good cheer. After clouds black, we shall have weather clear. What should your face thus again be, the wool be shorn for one fall? What man all this wind shakes no corn? Let this wind overblow, a time I will spy to take wind and tide with thee and speed thereby. I thank you, quoth I, but great boast and small roast maketh unsavory mouths wherever men host, and this boast very unsavourily serveth. For while the grass groweth, the horse starveth. Better one bird in hand than 10 in the wood. Rome was not built in one day, quoth he, and yet stood till it was finished, as some say full fair. Your heart is in your hose, all in despair. But as every man saith, a dog hath a day, should a man despair than any day? Nay, ye have many strings to your bow, for ye know, though I, having the bent of your uncle's bow, can no way bring your bolt in the butt to stand, yet have ye other marks to rove at hand. The keys hang not all by one man's girdle, man. Though naught will be won here, I say, yet ye can taste other kinsmen, of whom ye may get. Here's some and there's some, many small make great. For some, like winnings with blessings or curses, ever more light gains make heavy purses. Children learn to creep ere they can learn to go, and little and little you must learn even so. Throw no gift again at the giver's head, for better is half a loaf than no bread. I may beg my bread, quoth I, for my kin all that dwelleth nigh. Well, yet, quoth he, and the worst fall ye may to your kinsman, hence 9 or 10 mile, rich without charge, whom ye saw not of long while. That bench whistler is a pinch penny, as free of gift as a poor man of his eye. I shall get a fart off a dead man as soon as a farthing from him. His dole is soon done. He is high in the instep, and so straight-laced that pride and covetous withdraweth all repast. You know what he hath been, quoth he, but I wis. Absence saith plainly ye know not what he is. Men know, quoth I. I've heard now and then how the market goeth by the market men. Further it is said, the saying weigheth, it must needs be true that every man saith. Men say also children and fools cannot lie, and both man and child saith he is a hainspy. And myself knoweth him, I dare boldly brag, even as well as the beggar knoweth his bag, and I knew him not worth a grey groat. He was at an ebb, though he be now afloat. Poor is the poorest, and now naught he setteth by poor folk, for the parish priest forgetteth that ever he hath been holy Walter Clark. By what I can now hear, or ever could mark, of no man hath he pity of compassion.
And we'll pass over to Tom.
Well, quoth he, every man after his fashion. He may yet pity you, for aught doth appear it happens in 1 hour that happens not in 7 year. For speak not your fortune, nor hide your need, naught ventured, naught have, spare to speak, spare to speed, unknown, unkissed, it is lost, that is unsought, as good seek naught, quoth I, as seek and find naught. It is, quoth I, ill fishing before the net, but though we get little, dear bought and far fet, are dainties for ladies. Go we both too, I have my master thereby to do. I may break a dish there, and sure I shall set all at 6 and 7. To win some windfall, and I will hang the bell about the cat's neck, and for I will first break the jeopardy and the first check. And for to win this prey through the cost of be mine, let us present be with a bottle of wine. What should we, quoth I, grease the fat sow in the arse? We may do much ill where we do much worse. It is to give him, quoth I, as much alms or need as cast water in Thames, or as good a deed as in to help a dog over a stile. Then we go, quoth he. We lace time all this while, to follow his fancy we went together, and toward night yesternight, when we came thither, she was within, but he was yet abroad. And straight as she saw me, she swelled like a toad, pattering the devil's pater nostra to herself. Good God never made a more crabbed elf.
And we'll pass over to Valentina.
She bade him welcome, but the worse for me. This knave cometh a-begging by me, thought she. I smelled her out, and had her straight in the wind. She may abide no beggars of any kind. They be both greedy guts, all given to get. They cannot how all his fish that cometh to net. They know no end of their good, nor beginning of any goodness, such is wretched thing winning. Hunger droppeth even out of both their noses. She goeth with broken shoon and torn hoses. But who is worse shod than the shoemaker's wife, with shops full of new shoes all her life? Or who will do less than they that may do most? And namely of her I can no way make boast. She is one of them to who God bade hoe. She will all have, and will right naught forego. She will not part with the paring of her nails. She toileth continually for avails, which life she hath so long kept in yore, that for no life she would make change, be sure. But this lesson learned, ere I was 7 years. I was year 7. They that be in hell ween there is none other than heaven. She is nothing fair, but she is ill-favoured, and no more uncleanly than unsweet savoured. But hackney men say at mangy hackney's ire, a scald horse is good enough for a scabbed squire. He is knuckle-boneyard, very meet, to match a minion neither fair nor sweet. He winketh with the one eye, and looketh with the other. I will not trust him, though he were my brother. He hath a poison wit, and all his delight is to give taunts and checks of most spiteful spite. In that house commonly, such is the cast, a man shall as soon break his neck as is fast. And yet now such a gid did her head take, that more than for my mates, than for manners' sake, we had bread and drink, and cheese very great. But the greatest crabs be not all the best meat. For her crabbed cheese, with all the greatness, might well abide the fineness or sweetness. Anon he came in. And when he saw us so, to my companion kindly he did draw, and a well-favoured welcome to him he yields, bidding me welcome strangely over the fields, with these words, "Oh, young man, I know your matter. By my faith, you come to look in my water, and for my comfort to your consolation, ye will, by my purse, give me a purgation. But I am laxative enough there otherwise."
This, quoth this young man, contrary doth rise, for he is purse sick, and lacketh a physician, and hopeth upon you in some condition, not but by purgation, but by restorative, to strengthen his weakness, to keep him alive. I cannot, quoth he, for though it be my lot to have speculation, yet I practise not. I see much, but I say little, and do less, in this kind of physic. And what would ye guess? Shall I consume myself to restore him now? Nay, back ere, quoth Mortimer to his sow. He can before this time no time assign, in which he hath laid down 1 penny by mine, that ever might either make me bite or sup, and by our lady friend, naught lay down, naught take up. Camee thee, 1 good turn asketh another, naught won by the one, naught won by the t'other. To put me to cost, thou camest 50 score miles out of thine own nest to seek me in these out isles, where thou wilt not step over a straw, I think, to win me the worth of 1 draught of drink, no more than I have won of all thy whole stock. I have been common jack to all that whole flock. When aught was I to do, I was common hackney. Folk call on the horse that will carry alway, but evermore the common horse is worse shod. Desert and reward be oft times things far odd. At end I might put my winning in mine eye, and see never the worse for aught I wan them by. And now without them I live here at Stave's End, where I need not borrow, nor will I lend. It is good to beware by other men's harms, but thy taking of thine halter in thine arms teacheth other to beware of their harms by thine. Thou hast stricken the ball under the line. I pray you, quoth I, pity me, poor man, with somewhat till I may work as I can. Toward your working, quoth he, ye make such tastings as approve ye to be none of the Hastings. Ye run to work in haste as 9 men held ye, but whensoever ye to work must yield ye, if your workmate and you meet together, then shall we see 2 men bear a feather, recompensing former loitering life loose, as did the pure penitent who stole a goose and stuck down a feather. And where old folk tell that evil-gotten goods never proveth well, ye will truly get, and true getting well keep, till time ye be as rich as a new-shorn sheep. Howbeit, when thrift and you fell first at a fray, you played the man, for ye made thrift run away. So help me God, in my opinion, a man may make a play of his minion, and feign no ground, but take tales of his own friends. I suck not this out of my own fingers' ends. And since ye were wed, although I naught gave you, yet I pray for you, God, and Saint Luke save you, and here is all. For what should I further wade? I was neither of court nor of counsel made, and it is, as I have learned in listening, a poor dog that is not worth the whistling. Okay, narratively, that's feeling a lot firmer. He's asked for the money, and he said no. There's some nice proverbs in there. Always nice to hear. I've not heard I shall get a fart of a dead man as soon as a farthing of him before. I like that phrase. I'm not quite sure actually what it's supposed to denote, because dead men can fart. So I'm not quite sure where that one's going. Grease the fat sow in the arse. Apparently, I don't know if that's supposed to be a proverb or just something someone said there. But yeah, Rome was not built in one day. It was not. It was not. Yeah, thoughts again. They just riff. You've got the basic plot point, and then pow, 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 and it just keeps going. It's poo, poo. Kami Kadi. Have we heard that before? We've had that in a. Was that in Merry Tales? I think that was a central thing of one of the Merry Tales. Rastall's 100 Merry Tales. I think that was a thing. So, Rastall was the printer of many of John Heywood's works. Not this work, I think. I don't think Rastall was his printer at this point, for various political reasons. So, yes. Any thoughts? Sorry, I'll just keep whittering on here.
I think it would make a good text that you could challenge each other to see how many you could get into normal conversation. Go on and see if a poor dog that is not worth a whistling. People will just look at you strangely. But
I mean, the whole thing is that sort of it is a game, isn't it? How many of them can I cram into this without the narrative falling apart? And to a degree, he's just gone, oh, sod the narrative. I'll just keep listing them. I've got all these proverbs. Yeah, I'm sorry. I will, when we start up again, I will look up what that is from, because that curious. I don't know if I've got an index in this. I might just have to scroll through. I might be able to do a word search. I might not be able to do that in time. Anyway, any other thoughts?
Well, just some of them are like alliteration central. And if you get them, well, not get them wrong, but it's like, I don't know, well, there was one at the beginning that was like pry and pay and all that stuff. And it's like, if you don't get them right and you get them the wrong way around, it's just, frustrating.
Yeah, and also, the rhyming as well. And because of the nature of when this is happening, the rhymes are slightly odd as well, because you have slightly odder rhyme sounds. I mean, we're used to things like yow instead of you. But yeah, there are a few others where you just sort of lean into it and just go, oh, no, that's not the rhyme I'm aiming for. I'm going to aim for a different vowel sound here than I was expecting to make that end.
It's also like when I used to dance, and we used to have to do a really fast, quite intricate piece. You can't think. You just got to commit to it, and just, as you say, it just goes bang, 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 bang. But there's no thinking. You just have to, commit to it and go with it, and it happens. But yeah. And that's what this feels like a lot of the time. You just slide into that. You go, bum, 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 technical, slide into the next bit, go over there, and you come out over here, Quite nice.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. And I felt that because it's not a text I want to do slowly. It wants to go quite fast, and it's which is quite hard when you're doing a cold read, because, this is the kind of one where a little preparation would help. But anyway, let us finish this chapter, because we may get to the point of this. He's asked for the money. He's basically said no. A poor dog that is not worth the whistling. Eric, if you'll take it up from there.
A day ere I was wed, I bade you, quoth I. Scarborough warning I had, quoth he, whereby I kept me thence to serve the according. And now if this night's lodging and boarding may ease thee, and rid me from any more charge, then welcome. I'll get thee straight at large. For a further reward, mark how I boast me. In cases he shall yield me as ye cost me, so shall ye cost me as ye yield me likewise, which is a thing of note rightly to surmise. Herewithal his wife, to make up my mouth, not only her husband's taunting tale avoweth, but there to deviseth to cast in my teeth checks and choking oysters, and when she seeth her time to take up to show my fare at best. Ye see your fare, said she, set your heart at rest. Fare ye well, quoth I, however I fare now, and well mote ye fare both when I dine with you. Come, go we hence, friend, quoth I to my mate, and now will I make a cross on this gate. And I, quoth he, cross thee quite out of my book, since thou art cross-failed, avail unhappy hook. By hook or crook, nor could I win there, men say. He that cometh every day shall have a cockney, he that cometh now and then shall have a fat hen. But I gat not so much in coming seld, when as good a hen's feather or a poor eggshell is good play for naught, as work for aught folk tell. Well, well, quoth he, we be but where we were. Come what come would. I thought ere we came there that if the worst fell, we could have but a nay. There is no harm done, man, in all this fray, neither pot broken nor water spilt.
And we'll pass over to Tom.
Farewell he, quoth I, and I will as soon be hilt as wait again for the moonshine in the water. But is not this a pretty piked matter to disdain me, who mocked of the world holdeth not, as he doth, it may rhyme, but accordingly not. She foameth like a boar, and beast should seem bold, for she is as fierce as a lion of Scots cold. She frayeth in her own grease, but as for my part, if she be angry, beshrew her angry heart. Friend, quoth he may show wisdom at will, and with angry heart can hold his tongue still. Let patience grow in your garden alway. Some lose or old end will come. Man some one day from some friend, either in life or at death. Death, quoth I, take we that time to take a breath, then graft we a green graft on a rotten root. For waiteth for dead men's shoe shall go long barefoot. Let's pass, quoth he, and let us be trudging where some nopy ale is and soft sweet lodging.
That might be nappy ale, actually, but the text is noppy, but I suspect that might be nappy. We've had nappy ale elsewhere. Valentina, take us on.
Be it, quoth I, but I would very fain eat at breakfast and dinner. I eat little meat, and 2 hungry meals make the third a glutton. We went where we had boiled beef and bake mutton, whereof I fed me as full as a tun, and a bed where we, ere the clock had 9 run. Early we rose in haste to get away, and to the hostler this morning by day, this fellow called, What? How, fellow, thou knave? I pray thee let me and my fellow have a hair of the dog that bit us last night. And bitten were we both to the brain aright. We saw each other drunk in the good ale glass, and so did each one each other that there was, save one, but old men say that are skilled, a hard foot and field where no man scapeth unkilled. The reckoning reckoned, he needs would pay the shot, and needs he must for me, for I had it not. This done, we shook hands and parted in fine, he into his way, and I into mine. But this journey was quite out of my way. Many kinsfolk and few friends, some folk say, but I find many kinsfolk and friend not one. Folk say, it had been said many years since gone, prove thy friend ere thou have need. But indeed, a friend is never known till a man have need. Before I had need, my most present foes seemed my most friends, but thus the world goes. Every man busteth the fat hog we see, but the lean shall burn ere he busted be. He saith this sentence, oft and long said before, he that hath plenty of goods shall have more. He that hath but a little, he shall have less. He that hath right naught shall possess. Thus, having right naught, and what would somewhat obtain, with right naught, quoth he, I am returned again.
He got nothing. By hook or by crook, Scarborough Warning we've had in a play at some point. So that's a saying that certainly will survive in the next 50 to 70 years. Hair of the Dog. I didn't know that as a phrase existed that earlier. That pleases me. That pleases me.
It pleases me as well, because my partner came out with this like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and I just completely blanked and looked at him, like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And yes, okay, so it's not just me being foreign. It's a very old phrase, and he's a young man and shouldn't be using that.
Yeah, absolutely. It has age. It's 500 years and then some. I wonder whether it goes back further than this. I mean, I say Heywood has not made it up. He's just collected it. So it's and there's an awful lot of references to different ways of talking about drinking here. There's that we keep coming back to drinking phrases, and so that's nice to see. And the scatological and other things, they all keep coming back because hey, that's the root of our culture. Drinking and poo. There we go. But yes, basically the answer is no. Computer says no. He's not getting anything. So after that incredibly long chapter, the neighbours have been unsuccessful. On some level. Any other favourites anyone wants to throw in from that one? Any other thoughts anyone wants to go with? We're nearly at the end of part 1. We're nearly there. Eric.
There's a part of me going like, sometimes he's kind of cheating, where he's kind of like, prove thy friend ere thou have need, but then a friend is never known till friend of the man have need. It's like, really, you couldn't come up with something better. But also, that was not the point I wanted to make, but that was the thing I saw. Did people read this for fun? I don't understand. Is it just like getting tongue twisters into it, or what?
Well, I can sort of understand it as a thing that you read for fun, because I think it works better as a thing you read, because you can sort of take it in at your own pace. I think this is the problem we're having with it as a performative text. Is it's just Stephen made this said this last time. They just keep coming at you, and you're ducking and weaving, and it's just too much. Whereas as a book, I can sort of go with it. I mean, as a book, it's not that long. As a performative text, it is, but as a book, it's perfectly reasonable. It's relatively short.
And there is, I mean, like the next one coming up, a long harvest for a little corn. I mean, you could use that beautifully. Most probably get completely strange looks off me, but they don't. Everybody would understand.
I think that's one you have to do with an accent, isn't it? Long harvest for a little corn. Right. Yeah, that sort of country wisdom. That is country wisdom. Some of them are more urban, and yeah. Yeah, it's hair of the dog that bit us last night. Oh, bit when we were both to the brain, alright. That we were. Okay. Eric.
I just like the idea that if you play this as a drinking game, then obviously by this point you're utterly sloshed. and just trying to read it would be sort of, I don't know, just getting the words wrong, but it would be even more hilarious, as you go along, I think.
It might be hilarious for us. It might not be for anyone watching. Okay.
Well, they can drink as well.
Yeah. Sorry, say again?
They can drink as well.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Chapter 12. It's me, so I will pick up the pace and see where we go. Surely, quoth I. Are we back in the main? Are we back to the main narrators? Who knows? Oh well, we'll figure it out. Surely, quoth I, ye have in this time thus worn made a long harvest for a little corn. Howbeit, comfort yourself with this old text that telleth us, when bale is hesked, booth 'tis next. Though every man may not sit in the chair, yet always the grace of God is worth a fare. Take no thought in case God is where he was, and put case in poverty all your life pass. Yet poverty and poor degree taken well feedeth on this, he that never climbed never fell. And some case at some time showeth proof somewhere that riches bring oft harm and ever fear. Where poverty passeth without grudge or grief, what man, the beggar, may sing before the thief? And who can sing so merry a note as may he that cannot change a groat? Yea, quoth he, beggars may sing before thieves, and weep before true men, lamenting their greaves. Some say, and I feel, hunger pierceth stone wall. Meat, nor yet money to buy meat withal, have I not so much as may hunger defend from my wife and me. Well, quoth I, God will send time to provide for time, right well ye shall see. God send that provision in time, said he, and thus seeming well nigh weary of his life, the poor wretch went to his like poor wretched wife. From wantonness to wretchedness brought on their knees, their hearts full heavy, their heads full of bees. And after this month, or somewhat less, their landlord came to their house to take a stress for rent to have kept Bayard in the stable, but that to win any power was unable. Eric, take over the cudgels.
For though it be ill playing with short daggers, which meaneth that every wise man staggers in earnest or bored to be busy or bold with his biggers or betters, yet this is told, whereas nothing is, the king must lose his right, and thus king or kaiser must have them set quite. But warning to depart thence they needed none, for ere the next day the birds were flown, each one to seek service, of which where the man was sped, the wife could not speed, but maugre her head, she must seek elsewhere. For either there or nigh, service for any suit, she could none could espy. All folk thought them not only to thither, but to linger both in one house together, but also dwelling nigh under their wings, under their noses, they might convey things such as were neither too heavy nor too hot, more in a month than they their master got in a whole year, where two folk further weighing, receive each of other in their conveying, might be worst of all. For this proverb proves, where there be no receivers, there be no thieves. Such hap that here happed, that common dread of such guiles drove them, and keepeth them under many miles. Thus, though love decreed departure death to be, yet poverty parteth fellowship, we see, and doth those two true lovers so dissever, that meet shall they seld when, or haply never. And thus by love, that without regard of living, these twain have wrought each other's ill achieving, and love hath so lost them the love of their friends that I think them lost, and thus this tale ends.
Chapter 13. Tom, I think we're back in the outer layer of the narrative. I could be wrong.
Sir, said my friend, when men must needs marry, I see now how wisdom and haste may vary. Namely, were they wed for love altogether, I would for no good, but I had come hither, sweet beauty with sour beggary. Nay, I am gone to the wealthy withered widow by St. John. What, yet all in haste, quoth I? Yea, quoth he, for she hath substance enough, and ye see that lack is the loss of these two young fools. Know ye not, quoth I, that after wise men's schools a man should hear all parts ere he may judge any? Why are ye that? Quoth he. For this, quoth I told you, when I this began, that I would tell you of two couples, and I have told but of the one. Yea, be straight starting away, as I of the other had right naught to say, or as yourself of them right naught would hear.
And we'll pass over to Valentina for the rest.
Nay, not also, quoth he, but since I think clear, there can no way appear so painful a life between your younger neighbour and his old rich wife, as this tale in this young poor couple doth show, and that the most good or least ill ye know. To take at end, I was at beginning bent, with thanks for this, and your more pain to prevent. Without any more matter now revolved, I take this matter here clearly resolved, and that ye herein award me to forsake beggarly beauty and rivelled riches take. That's just, if the half shall judge the whole, quoth I. But yet hear the whole wholly to try. To it, quoth he, then I pray you by and by. We will dine first, quoth he, it is noon high. We may as well, quoth he, dine when this is done, the longer forenoon, the shorter afternoon. All cometh to one, and thereby men have guessed, always the longer east, the shorter west. We have had, quoth I, before you came, and sign, weather meet to set padlocks abroad in, rain more than enough, and when all shrews have dined, change from foul weather to fair is oft inclined, and all the shrews in this part, saving one wife, that must dine with us, have dined, pair of my life. Now, if good change of ill weather be depending upon her diet, what were mine offending to keep the woman any longer fasting? If he, quoth he, set all these far casting for commonwealth, as it appeareth a clear case, reason would your will should and shall take place.
And thus endeth the first part. Okay, so we've got the schema. I've got the shape of it is now clear in my head. So he said to the young lad, the story of the poor couple who married, young married, and they've got no money, and they're looking for a job. They can't find a job. It's all gone a bit pear-shaped, and the young lad's gone, right, okay, I'm going to marry the old rich one. And he says, whoa there, this is a two-part story. I've got another bit to tell you. And he said, but let's have dinner first. Should we have dinner? Let's have dinner. So they go off and have dinner, and that's where we end the first part. That was much more clear what was going on there. I sort of feel that has a sort of structure to it. I mean, this is sort of, I've got to the point where I'm sort of returning to the reason why we're doing this, which is, okay, maybe this is a sort of performable text. You've got two people, they're talking to each other. You could expand the number of characters as he tells the story. We can cut back some of the excess of proverbing. And maybe there's a little show here. I don't think I'm quite back to the first principle of saying this is a goer, because I still think it's probably too difficult a text to turn. You'd have to cut a lot to the point where there's probably it's not very long. But that might still be a fun exercise to do, and it might be quite interesting. Thoughts now that we're at the end of part one? How are we feeling? Are we overwhelmed? Are we underwhelmed? Are we whelmed? Any more proverbs that people really enjoyed in that little bit? I continue to enjoy some of these proverbs that are sort of kept Bayard in the stable. That rings a bell as well, and I'm not sure where that's appeared in another play later on. This is the thing, is that if only as an exercise of getting the culture of the time in our heads, it's really quite useful that, you know, these are common expressions. They're not, and if they pop up, it's not because a playwright's being original. It's quite the reverse. It's because the playwright is, you know, massively unoriginal, and is playing on commonplaces. Thoughts before we go on? Valentina,
Yeah, no, that's interesting. But I'm wondering how much of these are actually, like, I mean, obviously there are things that people say, but how much of these, in their lifetime, a person would actually use? Because it does sound like it's a bit of a hodgepodge of, like, it's just like rake them all in.
How obscure are some of them? Are some of them regional?
Or very old, even for that time.
Yeah. Their hearts full heavy, their heads full of bees. Now, their heads full of bees is italicized here. I want to bring that one back. Their heads are full of bees. I don't know. Is there a sort of modern vague one on that? It's not wholly. It sounds a bit like it's a thing.
It does ring a bell, but I don't understand.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Maybe again, this is also cultural questions of whether it's transmits or there are similar analogues on different countries and in different languages as well. Because we all have our sort of regional variations on the same kind of saying, but the animal is different, or the structure of it's slightly different. But we all have these things. So yeah, it's interesting. Okay, we're going to dive into the second part. I don't know whether we're ever going to, we're not going to finish this tonight for this session, but if we get far enough, then we can do this and finish it all in one more session after this, and we'll see whether we get there. So let's take our part 2, chapter 1. And I think we might just take a chapter each, unless they're really long. These look shorter chapters, so I might swap you halfway through and do it that way. Eric, I'll put you up again rather than start with me. So, chapter 1 of part 2. I assume they're returning from dinner, but maybe they're still eating. We shall find out.
Diners cannot be long where dainties want. Where coin is not common, commons must be scant. In post-pace we passed from pottage to cheese, and yet this man cried, "Alas, what time will these?" He would not let us pause after our repast, but apart he plucked me straight, and in all haste, as I of this poor young man and this poor young maid, or more poor young wife, the foresaid words had said, so prayeth he me now the process may be told between the other young man and the rich widow old. If ye lack that, quoth I, away ye must wind with your whole errand, and half answer behind. Which thing to do, since haste thereto showeth you loath, and to haste your going, the day away goeth, and that time lost again we cannot win. Without more loss of time, this tale I begin. In this late old widow, and then old new wife, age and appetite fell at a strong strife. Her lust was as young as her limbs were old. The day of her wedding, like one to be sold, she set herself out in fine apparel. She was made like a beer pot or a barrel. A crooked, hooked nose. I'm sorry, I lost my place for some reason. My text misbehaved. Okay, there we go. Wait, no. Yes, she was made like a beer pot or a barrel. Crooked hooked nose, beetle-browed, blear-eyed. Many men wished, for beautifying that bride, her waist to be girded in, and for a bonne grace, some well-favoured visor on her ill-favoured face. But with visor-like visage such as it was, she smirked and she smiled, but so lisped this lass, that folk might have thought it done only alone of wantonness, had not her teeth been gone. Upright as a candle standeth in a socket, stood she that day, so simpered the cocket. Of ancient fathers she took no cure nor care. She was to them as coy as the croaker's mare. She took the entertainment of the young men all in dalliance, as nice as a nun's hen. I suppose that day her ears might well glow, for all the town talked of her, high and low. One said, a well-favoured old woman she is. The devil she is, said another, and to this came the third with his 5 eggs, and said, 50 year ago I knew her a trim maid. Whatever she were then, said one, she is now to become a bride, and as meet as a sow to wear a saddle. She is in this marriage as comely as is a cow in a cage. Gup with a gold back, you'll come up to supper. What? Mine old mare would have a new crupper. Then now mine old hat must have a new band. Well, quoth one, glad is he that hath in her in hand a goodly marriage she is, I hear say. She is so, quoth one, were the woman away. Well, quoth another, fortune this moveth, and in this case every man as he loveth. Quoth the good man when that he kissed his cow. That kiss, quoth one, doth well hear, by God avow. But how can she give a kiss sour and sweet? Her chin and her nose within half an inch meet. God is no botcher, sir, said another. He shapeth all parts as each part may fit another. Well, quoth one, wisely let us leave this scanning. God speed them, may be as be there. Be as be may is no banning. That shall be, and with God's grace they shall do well, and that's that they so may, wish we all.
And we'll pass over to Tom for presumably this never-ending sort of being mean about this woman. It's sort of unrelenting, this, isn't it? Anyway, Tom, take up the cudgels.
This wonder, as wonders lasted 9 days, which done, and all the guests of his feast gone their ways. Ordinary household this man straight began, very sumptuously, which he might well do than. What he would have, he may have, his wife was set in such dotage of him, that fair words did fet. Groom well seed plenty, and pleasures to prefer. She made much of him, and he much of her. I was, as I said, much there, and most of all, the first month in which time such kindness did fall. Between these two counterfeit turtle birds, to see his sweet look and hear her sweet words, and to think wherefore thou doth put both in error, it would have made a horse break his halter sure. All the first fortnight the ticking might have taught any young couple their love tricks to have wrought. Some laughed and said, all things is gay that is green. And some thereto said, this green new broom sweepeth clean. But since all things in the worst for their wearing decame of clean sweeping, folks had in fearing. And indeed, ere 2 months away we crept, and her biggest bags into his bosom swept. Where love had appeared in him to her alway, hot as a toast it grew, as cold as K. He at meat carving her, and none else before, now carved he all but her, and to her no more. Where her words seemed honey by his smiling cheer, now they mustered before them to hear. And when she sweet sauce began to wax sour, she waxed as sour as he, and as well could lower. She turned their tippets by the way of exchange, from laughing to lowering, and taunting did range, that in plain terms, plain truth to you to utter. They two agreed like two cats in a gutter. Marry, sir, quoth he, by scratching and biting cats and dogs come together. by folks reciting. Together by their ears they come, quoth I, cheerfully, how be it these words are not void here clearly, for in one state they twain could not yet settle, but weaving as the wind in dock out nettle, now in, now out, now here, now there, now sad, now merry, now high, now low, now good, now bad, in which unsteady, sturdy storms strainable, to know how they both were irrefrainable. Mark how they fell out and how they fell in. At the end of a supper did things thus begin.
Chapter 2. Valentina, tell us what happened at supper.
Husband, quoth she, I would we were in our nest. When the belly's full, the bones would be at rest. So soon upon supper, said he, no question. Sleep marketh ill and also unwholesome digestion. By that diet a great disease once I get, and burnt child fire dreadeth. I will beware of that. What? A post of physic? Said she. Yea, a post, and from post to pillar, wife, I have been tossed by that surfeit, and I feel a little fit even now by former attempting of it, whereby, except I shall seem to leave my wit before it leave me, I must now leave it. I thank God, quoth she, I never yet felt pain to go to bed timely, but rising again too soon in the morning hath me displeased. And I, quoth he, have been more diseased by early lying down than by early rising. But thus differ folklore in exercising. That one may not, another may. Use marketh mastery, and men many times say that one loveth not, another doth, which hath spared all meats to be eaten and all maids to be wed. Haste ye to bed now, and rise ye as rate, while I rise early and come to bed late. Long lying warm in bed is wholesome, quoth she. Well, the leg warmeth, the boot armeth, quoth he. Well, quoth she, he that doth as most men do shall be least wondered on, and take any two that be man and wife in this old town, and most part together they rise and lie down. When birds shall roost, quoth he, at 8, 9, or 10, who shall appoint their hour, the cock or the hen? The hen, quoth she, the cock, quoth he, just, quoth she, as German's lips. It shall prove more just, quoth he, than prove I, quoth she. The more fool far away, but there is no fool to the old fool, folk say. You are wise enough, quoth he, if ye keep warm. To be kept warm, and for none other harm, nor for much more good, I took you to wed. I took not you, quoth he, night and day to bed. Her carrion carcass, said he, is so cold because she is aged and somewhat too old. Then she killeth me. But I do but roast a stone in warming her, and shall not I save one as she would save another? Yes, by St. John. Ah, sir, quoth she, marry, this gear is alone, who that worse may shall hold the candle. I see I must warm a bed for him, should warm it for me. This medicine thus ministered is sharp and cold, but all thing that is sharp is short, folk have told. This trade is now begun, but if it hold on, then farewell, my good days, they will be soon gone. Gospel in thy mouth, quoth he, this strive to break. Howbeit, all is not gospel that thou dost speak, but what need we lump out love at once lushing, as we shall now shake hands? What, soft for dushing? The fair lasteth all year. We be new knit, and so late met, that I fear we part not yet. Quoth the baker to the pillory, which thing from distempered funding temperance may bring, and this reason to aid and make it more strong, old wise folk say, love me little, love me long. I say little, said she, but I think more thought is free. Ye lean, quoth he, to the wrong shore. Brawling booteth not. He was not that night bent to play the bridegroom. Alone to bed she went. This was the beginning of jar. Howbeit, for a beginning, this was a fit. And but a flea biting to that did ensue. The worst is behind, we come not where it grew. How say you, said he to me, by my wife? The devil hath cast a bone, said I, to set strife between ye. But it were a folly for me to put my hand between the bark and the tree, or to put my finger too far in the fire between you, and lay my credence in the mire. To meddle little for me 'tis best, for of little meddling cometh great rest. Yes, ye may meddle, quoth he, to make her wise, without taking harm in giving your advice. She knoweth me not yet, but if she wax too wild, I shall make her know an old knave is no child. Slugging in bed with her is worse than watching. I promise you, an old sack asketh much butching. Well, quoth I, tomorrow I will to my beads to pray, that as ye both will so ache your heads, and in meantime my aching head to seize, I will couch a hogshed, quoth he. When you please. We parted, and this, within a day or twain, was raked up in the ashes and covered again.
Chapter 3. These 2 days past, he said to me, When ye will, come chat at home, all is well. Jack shall have Jill. Who had the worst end of the staff, quoth I now? Shall the master wear a breech, or none, say Al? I trust the sow will no more so deep root. But if she do, quoth he, you must set in foot, and whom ye see out of the way, or shoot wide, overshoot not yourself any side to hide, but shoot out some words, if she be too hot. She may say, quoth I, a fool's bolt is soon shot. Ye will me to a thankless office here, and a busy officer I may appear, and Jack out of office, she may bid me walk, and think me as wise as Waltham's calf to talk, or chat of her charge, having therein naught to do. Howbeit, if I see need, as my part cometh to, gladly between you I will do my best. I bid you to dinner, quoth he, as no guest, and bring your poor neighbours on your either side. I did so, and straight as the old wife us espied, she bade us welcome, and merrily toward me. Green rushes for this stranger straw here, quoth she. With this apart, she pulled me by the sleeve, saying in few words, my mind to you to me. So it is that all our great fray the last night is forgiven and forgotten between us quite. And all frays by this I trust I have taken end, for I fully hope my husband will amend. Well amended, thought I, when ye both relent, not on your own, but to each other's amendment. Now, if I hope fail, quoth she, and chance bring about any such breach whereby we shall fall again out, I pray you, tell him he is perverse now and then, and wink on me. Also hardly, if ye can, take me in any trip. Quoth I am loath to meddle commonly, for, as this tale goeth, who meddleth in all thing may shew the gosling. Well, quoth she, your meddling herein may bring the wind calm between us, when it else might rage. I will, with good will, quoth I, ill winds to assuage, spend some wind at need, though I waste wind in vain. To table we sat, where fine fare did remain. Merry we were as cup and can could hold, each one with each other homely and bold. And she, for her part, made us cheer heaven high. The first part of dinner, merry as a pie. But a scald head is soon broken, and so they, as ye shall straight hear, fell at a new fray. So, I mean, it's interesting. This is textually a lot clearer. There is a narrative here that is not being completely subsumed by the proverbing. There is a problem with the narrative, which is it's spending an awful lot of time being quite mean to this woman. Though there is a hint that maybe, I mean, he's a gold digger anyway, so he's not coming out of this well either. But yes, there is a sort of disparity here, which is leaving an which is a shame, because now that the narrative is making sense, it's slightly annoying that the narrative is just a bit mean. But that's sort of the nature of early mid-Tudor humour, really, is that the people are quite mean to each other quite a lot. But yeah, they two agreed like two cats in a gutter. So that I quite liked. There were a few nice lines in there I was rather enjoying. Simper de coquet is a turn of phrase Heywood has used elsewhere in one of his plays. I think whether, off the top of my head, I could be wrong. But we keep getting these little things going back and forth. I'm not quite sure he at meat carving her and none else before, and now carved he to all but her and to her no more. Yeah, there are interesting connotations to that one. Any thoughts on this one? Again, it's narratively, it's got more life. It's a lot less confusing than the younger, poorer neighbours who definitely exist. Yes. Any thoughts? Eric.
This guy just gets randomly taken out to dinner by people who want him to help them. This is just like yeah.
The dramatic situation I quite like. I quite like the idea that there is this couple who are warring, and they're trying to use him as a go-between, and he's going, "This is going to end badly for me. I do not want to get involved. Please sort this shit out amongst yourselves." And I quite like that aspect. It's the fact that the narrative is constantly sort of, I mean, it sort of distances it by all the insults that they're throwing to her early on, and everyone laughing at her getting married at her age. It's sort of distanced by having other characters do that, but it still doesn't feel. It feels like the author is very much on side of going, let's laugh at this person for daring to be happy, or attempt to be happy. But then again, he does turn out to be a bit of a gold digger, because he likes just spending her money, and when the money stops being spent, he's not very happy. Other thoughts? No. You see, for the viewers at home, what's happening here is everyone is in the chat discussing what alcohol they'd like to be drinking at this point to get through the rest of this text. It's something you can't see, but I can. It's quite distracting. But anyway, Tom.
It's just a classic trope, isn't it? You know, the rich older lady marrying a young gold digger is a classic trope, and I think you just have to let it run. Hopefully, you know, we would love a twist to happen, but we won't know till we get further down, or it might just drearily be the run of the mill tragedy of that situation.
Yes, because of course, from the Tudor point of view, from the period that this is written in, of course, the reason why such a match is considered so foolish, because of course the point of marriage is to have children, and if she is beyond childbearing age, then there is a certain question. It's also about merging assets, and if he doesn't have any money, then the society is judgy. And more judgy than ours is, because we don't have the same sort of level of pressure, though of course such pressure does still exist. Anyway, let us continue with this sterling text and see where it goes. Eric, I think you're up for chapter 4. We've been promised that a new fray will kick off any moment now. Awkward dinner conversation may ensue.
"Husband," quoth she, Ye study, be merry now, and even as ye think now, so come to you. Nay, not so, quoth he, for my thought to tell right, I think how you lay groaning, wife, all last night. Husband, a groaning horse and a groaning wife never fail their master, quoth she, for my life. No, wife, a woman hath 9 lives like a cat. Well, my lamb, quoth she, ye may pick out of that as soon goeth the young lambskin to the market as the old ewes. God forbid, wife, ye shall first jet. I will not jet yet, quoth she, but no doubting, it is a bad sack that will abide no clothing. And as we oft see, the loath stake standeth long, so it is an ill stake I've heard among that cannot stand 1 year in a hedge. I drink, quoth she. Quoth he, I will not pledge. What need all this? A man may love his house well, though he ride not on the ridge, I have heard tell. What, I ween, quoth he, proffered service stinketh. But somewhat it is, I see, when the cat winketh and both her eyne out. But further strife to shun, let the cat wink and let the mouse run. This passed, and he cheered us all, but most cheer on his part to this fair young wife did appear. And as he to her cast oft a loving eye, so cast her husband like eye to his plate by, wherewith in great musing he was brought. Friend, quoth the good man, a penny for your thought. For my thought, quoth he, that is a goodly dish, but of troth I thought better to have than wish. What a goodly young wife as you have, quoth he. Nay, quoth he, goodly gilt goblets as here be. By our lady, friends, quoth I, this maketh a show, to show you more unnatural than the crow. The crow thinketh her own birds fairest in the wood, but by your words, except I wrong understood, each other's birds or jewels you do weigh above your own. True, quoth the old wife. Ye say, but my neighbour's desire rightly to measure cometh of need, and not of corrupt pleasure, and my husband's more of pleasure than of need. Old fish and young flesh, quoth he, doth men best feed. And some say, change of pasture maketh fat calves. As for that reason, quoth she, runneth to halves as well as for the calf as for the bull. And though your pasture look barrenly and dull, you yet look not on the meat, but look on the man. And whoso looketh on you shall shortly scan. Ye may write to your friend that you're in health, but all thing may be suffered, saving wealth. An old said so, age and ease can no man please. Plenty is no dainty, ye see not your own ease. I see you cannot see the wood for trees. Your lips hang in your light, but this poor man sees how blindly you stand in your own light, and that you rose on your right side here right, and I might have gone further and have fared worse. I what well might, quoth he, for the purse, but ye be a baby of Beelzebub's bower. Content ye, quoth she, take the sweet with the sour. Fancy may bolt bran, and make ye take it flour. It will not be, quoth he. I should die this hour, while this fair flower flourisheth thus in mine eye. Yes, it might, quoth she, and hear this reason why. Snow is white and lieth in the dike, and every man lets it lie. Pepper is black and hath a good smack, and every man doth it buy. Milk, quoth he, is white, and lieth not in the dike, but all men know it good meat. Ink is all black, and hath an ill smack, no man will it drink or meat, nor eat. Thy rhyme, quoth he, is much older than mine, but mine being newer is truer than thine. Thou likest now, for a vain advantage, white snow to fair youth, black pepper to foul age, which are placed out of place here by the rude. Blank ink as ill meat, and as black pepper is good, and white milk is good meat, as white snow is ill. But a milk, snow white, smooth young skin, who change will for pepper, ink, blank, ruffled, withered face. Though change be no robbery for the changed case, yet shall that change rob the changer of his wit. For who this case searcheth shall soon see in it, that as well agreeth the comparison in these as alike to compare in taste chalk and cheese, or alike in colour to deem ink and chalk. Walk, drab, walk. Nay, quoth she, walk, knave, walk, saith that term. Howbeit, sir, I say not so. And best we lay a straw here, and even there, ho, or else this gear will breed a pad in the straw. If ye hold this way, I will another way draw. Here is God in Lambry, quoth I. Quoth he, nay, here is the devil in Thorolodge, you may say. Since this, quoth I, rather bringeth bale than boot, wrap it in the cloth and tread under foot. You harp on the string that giveth no melody. Your tongues run before your wits, by St. Anthony. Mark ye how she hitteth me on the thumbs, quoth he, and ye taunt me tit over thumb, quoth she. Since tit for tat, quoth I, on even hand is set the hare's head against the goose giblet. She is, quoth he, bent to force you perforce to know that the grey mare is the better horse. She choppeth logic to put me to my clergy. She hath one point of a good hawk, she is hardy. But wife, the first point of hawking is hold fast, and hold ye fast, I rede you, lest ye be cast in your own turn. Nay, she will turn the leaf, and rather, quoth I, take his faith in the sheaf at your hands, and let fall her hold than be too bold. Nay, I will spit in my hands and take better hold. He, quoth she, that will be angry without cause must be at one without amends by sage saws. Tread a worm on the tail, and it must turn again. He taketh pepper in the nose, that I complain upon his faults, myself being faultless, but that shall not stop my mouth, ye may well guess. Well, quoth I, too much of one thing is not good. Leave off this. Be it, quoth he, for we to our food, but sufferance is no quittance in this Damons. No, quoth she, nor misreckoning is no payment, but even reckoning maketh long friends, my friend, for alway own is own, as the reckonings end. This reckoning was reckoned, and dinner once done, we three from them twain departed very soon.
Awkward dinner party breaks up. Chapter 5. Tom, take it away.
This old woman the next day after this night stole home to me secretly as she might, to talk with me in secret counsel, she said, of things which in no wise might be buried. We twain are one too many, quoth I, for men say, 3 may keep counsel if 2 be away. But all that ye speak unmeet again to tell, I will say naught but mum, and mum is counsel. Well then, quoth she, herein avoiding all fears, avoid your children, small pitchers have wide ears. Which done, she said, I have a husband, ye know, whom I made of naught as things self doth show. And for these 2 causes only him I took. First, that for my love she lovingly look, in all kind of cause that love engendered might, to love and cherish be by day and by night. Secondly, the full substance which I to him brought, he rather should augment than bring to naught. But now my good shall be both spent, ye shall see, and in spending it, sole instrument shall be of my destruction by spending it on such as shall make him destroy me. I fear this much. He maketh havoc and setteth cock on the hoop. He is so lavish and stock begins to droop. And as for gain in dead and lain in tomb, when he should get aught, each finger is a thumb. Each of his joints against others justle, as handsomely as a bear picketh muscle. Flattering knaves and fleering queens, which being the mark, hang on his sleeves, many hands make light work. As he his hawks in the mew make be sure, with empty hands may Men may no hawks allure. There is a nest of chickens which he doth brood, and this that will sure make his hair grow through his hood. They can be carely furred, and make feather, while they cut large thongs of other men's leather. He maketh his mart, his merchants likely, to bring a shilling to sixpence quickly. If he holds on to a while as he begins, we shall see him prove a merchant eel skins, a merchant without either money nor ware, but all be bugs word that speak so spare.
And we'll pass over to Valentina.
Better spare at brim than at bottom, say I. Ever spare and ever bear, saith he, by and by. Spend, and God shall send, saith the old ballet. Well, what sendeth he, say I, a stuff in a wallet? Then up goes his stuff to send me a loof. He is a 3 words up in the house roof. And herein to grow, quoth she, to conclusion, I pray your aid to avoid this confusion, and for counsel herein I thought to have gone to that cunning man, our curate, Sir John. But this kept me back. I have heard now and then the greatest clerks be not the wisest men. I think, quoth I, whoever that term began was neither a great clerk nor the greatest wise man. In your running from him to me, ye run out of God's blessing into the warm sun, where the blind leadeth the blind, both fall in the dike, and blind be we both, if we think as his like. Folk show much folly, when things should be sped to run to the foot, that may go to the head. Since he best can and most ought to do it, I fear not but he will, if he will woo it. There is but one lad, quoth she, more than I speak on, my husband, and he be so great that the one cannot piss, but the other must let a fart. Chose we him a party, then farewell my part. We shall so partake that I shall lease the whole. Folk say of old, the shoe will hold with the sole. Shall I trust him then? Nay, in trust is treason. But I trust you, and come you to this season to hear me, and tell me what way you think best to hem my husband and set me at rest. If you mind, quoth I, a conquest to make over your husband, no man may undertake to bring you to ease or the matter amend, except ye bring him to where a clock's come at hand. For take that your husband, whereas ye take him, as I take him not, as your tale would make him, yet were contention like to do naught in this, but keep him naught, and make him worse than he is. But in this complaint for counsel quick and clear, a few proverbs for principles let us hear. Who that may not as they would, will as they may. And this to this, they that are bound must obey. Folly is to spurn against the prick, to strive against the stream, to whinge or kick against the hard wall. By these ye may see, being bound to obedience as ye be, and also overmatched, sufferance is your dance. He may overmatch me, quoth she, perchance in strength of body, but my tongue is a limb, to match and to vex every vein of him. Tongue breaketh bone, itself having none, quoth I. If the wind stand in that door, it standeth awry. The peril of prating out of tune by note telleth us that a good bestel is worth a groat. In being your own foe, you spin a fair thread. Advise you well, for here doth all lie and bled. Flee the attempting of extremities all. Folk say, better sit still than rise and fall, for little more or less nor the bait make, and every dog's bark seem not to awake. And where the small with the great cannot agree, the weaker goeth to the pot, we all they see. so that always the bigger eateth the bean. Ye cannot win by any wayward mean. Where the hedge is lowest, man may soonest over. Be silent, let not your tongue run at rover, since strife ye may lose, and cannot win, suffer. It is good sleeping in a whole skin. If ye chide, keep ye bill under wing mute. Chatting to chiding is not worth a toot. We see many times might overcometh right, where not you as good then to say the crow is white. And so rather let fair words make fools feign, than be plain without pleats, and plant your own pain. For were ye as plain as Dunstable highway, yet should ye that way rather break a love day than make one thus, though ye perfectly knew all that ye conjure to be proved true. Yet best dissemble it and shake it off, than to broid him with it in earnest or in scoff. If ye play falsehood in fellowship, play ye see me and see me not, the worst part to flee.
Why think ye me so white-livered, quoth she, that I will be tongue-tied? Nay, I warrant ye that they that will be afraid of every fart must go far to piss. Well, quoth I, your part is to suffer, I say, for ye shall prove taunts appease not things, they rather aggrieve, but for ill company or expense extreme, I hear no man doubt as far as ye deem, and there is no fire without some smoke, we see. Well, well, make no fire, raise no smoke, said she. What cloak for the train soever ye bring me, myself can tell best where my shoe doth ring me. But as ye say, where fire is, smoke will appear, and so it hath done. For I did lately hear how Fleck and his make use their secret haunting by one bird that in mine ear was late chaunting. One swallow maketh not summer, said I, men say. I have, quoth she, mo blocks in his way to lay for further increase of suspicion of ills, besides his jetting into the town to his gills. With callets he consumeth himself and my goods, sometime in the fields, sometime in the woods. My father's blessing then I asked upon my knee, who blessing me with trembling hands these words gan say to me. Some hear and see him whom he heareth not nor seeth not, but fields of eyes and woods of ears ye wot, and also on my maids he is ever tooting. Can ye judge a man, quoth I, by his looking? What, a cat may look on a king, ye know. My cat's leering look, quoth she, at first showeth me that my cat goeth a caterwauling, and specially by his manner of drawing, to madge my fair maid, for may he come by her, he must needs bass her as he cometh by her. He loveth well sheep's flesh that wets his bread in the wool. If he leave it not, we have a crow to pull. He loveth her better at the sole of the foot than ever he loved me at the heart root. It is a foul bird that fileth his own nest. I would have him live as God's law hath expressed, and leave lewd ticking. He that will none ill do must do nothing that belongeth thereto. To tick and laugh with me, if lawful leave. To that I said naught, but naught in my sleeve. But when she seemed to be fixed in mind, rather to seek for that she was loath to find, than leave that seeking by which she might find ease, I feigned this fancy, to feel how it should please. Sorry, just changing the punctuation. Will ye do well, quoth I, take pain to watch him, and if ye change in the vouchery to catch him, then have ye on the hip or on the hurdle, then have ye his head fast under your girdle. Where your words now do but rub him in the gall, that deed without words shall drive him to the wall, and further than the wall he cannot go, but must submit himself, and hap it so that at the end of your watch he guiltless appear. Then all grudge, grown by jealousy, taketh end clear. Eric, take up the cudgels.
For of all folks, I may worst watch him, said she. A fox himself most watcheth me. I shall soon try him, or take him this way, as drive a top over a tiled house. No, nay. I may keep corners or hollow trees with the owl this 7 years, day and night, to watch a pole, before I shall catch him with undoubted evil. He must have a long spoon, shall eat with the devil, and the devil is no falser than is he. I have heard tell it had need to be a wily mouse that should breed in the cat's ear. Shall I get within him then? Nay, wear that gear, it is hard halting before a cripple, you wot. A falser water drinker there liveth not when he hunteth a doe that he cannot avow. Old dogs bark not at him, I warrant you. Namely, not I say, though as I said, he sometime though seldom by some be bewrayed. Close hunting, quoth I, the good hunter alloweth, but be your husband never so still of mouth, as if he can hunt and will stand a receipt, your maid examined, maketh him open straight. That were, quoth she, is of my truth to make brief, to ask my fellow whether I be a thief. They cleave together like burrs, that way I shall pike out no more than out of the stone wall. Then like he not to watch him for wife or maid. No, quoth she, nor I, quoth he, whatever I said, and I mislike not your only watch in vain, but also if ye took him, what could ye gain? From suspicion to knowledge of ill, forsooth, could make ye do, but as the flounder doeth leap out of the frying pan into the fire, and change from ill paying to worse is worth small hire. Let time try, time trieth truth in every doubt, and deem the best till time hath tried the troth out. And reason saith, make not 2 sorrows of one, but ye make 10 sorrows where reason maketh none. For where reason, as I said, sorry, yeah, apologies, script is misbehaving. Reason, as I said, right? Oh yeah, okay. With you to wink, where reason, as I said, with you to wink, though all were proved as ill as ye think, contrary to reason, ye stamp and ye stare, ye fret and ye fume, as mad as a March hare, without proof to his reproof, present or past, but by such report as most prove lies lost at last. And here goeth the hare away for ye judge all, and judge the worst in all, ere proof in aught full. But blind men should judge no colours by old saws, and folk oft times are most blind in their own cause. The blind may eat many flies, howbeit the fancy of your blindness cometh not of ignorancy. Ye could tell another herein the best way, but it is as folk do, and not as folk say. For they say, saying and doing are 2 things to defend danger that double dealing brings. As ye can seem wise in words, be wise indeed. That is, quoth she, sooner said than done, I dread. But meseemeth your counsel weigheth in the whole, to make me put my finger in a hole, and so by sufferance to be so thither in my house till they fire and tow together. And if they fire me, some of them shall win, more tow in their distaves than they can well spin, and the best of them shall have both their hands full, bolster or pillow for me be whose woe. I will not bear the devil's sack by St. Audrey, for concealing suspicion of their bawdry. I fear false measures, or else I were a child, for they that think none ill are soonest beguiled. And thus, though much water goeth by the mill, the miller knoweth not all, yet I will cast what may scape, and as though I find it with the clack of my mill to fine meal grinded. And sure, ere I take any rest in effect, I must banish my maids such as I suspect. Better it done than wish it had been done. As good undone, quoth I, to do it too soon. Well, quoth she, till ye soon fare ye well, and this keep ye secret, as ye think meet is. Out at doors went she herewith, and hereupon in the doors came he forthwith as she was gone, without any temperate protestation. Thus began he in way of exclamation.
But we're not going to do that now, because time is moving apace. But yes, she has extemporized at length about what her husband's been getting up to, and my words, hiring sex workers and going out into the fields and the woods, constantly interfering with the maidservants, which creates all sorts of interesting questions about that sort of situation the maidservant's in, where she wants to sack the maidservant and going, well, how much agency does the maidservant actually have in this situation? Does she really have recourse to tell the master to get stuffed? So there's all sorts of things that this is throwing up, as well as all sorts of things. Now, I can't remember where else we've discovered in Trust is Treason, but it does ring a bell very heavily, and I can't remember where. But yeah, we've got scatological things again. Cannot piss, but the other must let her fart. Yes, that's a familiar one. No, actually, no. The one is a cat may look on a king. I didn't know it was as early as this. I just know that I know it's a commonplace used in Alice in Wonderland, but I didn't know it was this old. So this again, that delights me. Not necessarily the text that delights me, but the things that are in there is making me very, very happy there. So that's nice. There is no fire without some smoke. As with many of these proverbs, it's like they do a backflip over the years. It's like we know them, but they're back to front. So many of them are. Who waved earlier? Was it Tom? Oh no, it was Eric. Eric waved.
I was just going to say that I like how it's kind of, because it's a debate, they basically take the proverb, like the initial structure of the proverb, and then kind of go, well, like the cat one that you just, the cat may look at a king, and then she goes, yeah, but my cat's sleeping around, basically.
Yeah.
So what am I supposed to do? It's like...
Yeah, and we are actually sort of getting to the crux of this Shaggy Dog story, which is that, and this is a sort of debating thing, is that you can use examples to debate anything to a degree, because you can always find an example that will fit your thing. It's not enough to build an argument on it. So this sort of debate can never go anywhere because it's got no other structure to it. It is just, I will throw you a random example that will support my thesis, and I will throw you another term expression, and it just becomes this sort of wall of proverbs that just keep coming at us. But this second half has a much stronger narrative. We've got characters, we've got for all the various problematic elements of it, it is clear. Whereas the problem with the first half, which we only caught the latter end of today, the problem with it is it's very simple. People go ask for money, they are told to go away. They are now still poor. That is the end of the story. So it doesn't actually have anything to hang your hat on. Whereas this actually does, and I am saying for all of its the issues that there are with it, it is a thing in the way that the first half isn't. That the first half is something you just sort of get cut to ribbons, have in passing, and that this is actually the meat of the thing to talk about, to make all these questions of what society at the time is like, and how this relationship works, because there is enough here that there is almost a little play here. Actually hidden within this. If we took all the he said, she said stuff out and turned it into dialogue, that might actually be a thing. Okay, well, we're into extra time. Everyone, I'm sure, is delighted that the session is now coming to an end, for all its many problems. But yeah, there is a little kernel here that has now piqued my interest. I was very close to ditching this whole text after the first session. I was very unsure whether we were going to finish it. I'm now certain we will definitely finish it next time, though we may do some other things as well during that session. Any final thoughts in the room before I close? I've done a lot of talking. Everybody else has done a lot of drinking in their minds, if nothing else. Tom?
It was a workout. It was, as you said, it's all about timing, and I think if you could get the repartee, the cut and the thrust, and just the clean up the text a bit, and I think it is, it's an aerobic workout for a performer, which is quite nice. Sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Well. Well, on that note, Eric.
I just like the idea that it's kind of, well, this argument, but then he can't get, like, the narrator can't actually get a word in edgeways. He tries to give all these examples and then just gets them thrown back in his face. Yeah.
Yeah. She's better at this game than he is. So
She's older.
been
More
at
experience.
this proverbing lark longer than you, Sonny Jim. So on that note, we will say farewell to the second half of the Proverbs of John Heywood. We will complete this in a mini session. There isn't that much left to do, but there is a reasonable amount to find out. Which will the young lad marry? Is he going to go old or young, rich or poor? Who knows? Who cares? All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. They that will be afraid of every fart must go far to piss.